and I miss hosting my own events. See you at Sugar Mass 50. Boom.
Get vaccinated quickly to turn up Sugar Mass 50.
In the top stories, national footballer Atiba Harris retires from the sport. Haiti police stations stormed to free detained officers, and EU drug regulator backs AstraZeneca vaccine. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, the 19th of March 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, it's the end of a chapter and the dawn of a new era for national football icon Atiba Harris. On Tuesday, Harris announced that his From Barefoot to Cleats on My Feet journey had ended, indicating that he was leaving professional football. Harris, who is now 36 and has been playing since he was 18 years old, said he knew this day would come. We apologize for being unable to bring you that soundbite, but the young national, who has always assisted many at home, says he will continue to do so, identifying ways in which other national footballers can improve. So, what's next for Atiba? You can tune into our evening newscast to find out what he has planned. The St. Kitts Diabetes Association continued its screening campaign at primary schools with a stop at the Dr. William Connor Primary School on Thursday. 30 students were tested with 4 measurements being collected, namely weight, height, blood pressure, and blood sugar. According to the association's public relations officer, Dr. Reginald O'Loughlin, this information, quote, gives us an opportunity to detect risk factors for diabetes and introduce through strong recommendations the necessary changes to improve the prognosis for the children identified as being at increased risk for the disease. This screening is part of a larger exercise in which 150 students from 5 schools will be screened over a 5-week period. Dr. William Connor Primary School was the 3rd on the selected list. The St. Kitts Diabetes Association has thanked the Ministry of Health and the Lions Club for their collaboration. The 8-week Youth Volunteer Corps Media Training, hosted through the collaborative efforts of the Department of Youth Empowerment and Food for Creative Souls, is receiving positive feedback. 15 members of the Volunteer Corps Media team are undergoing training to enhance their skill and understanding of video recording and editing, photography, social media, copywriting, graphic design, and information reporting. Alana Polanco is participating for the 2nd time in the training that has been described as a boot camp. She said she decided to return to another round of training because of the wide range of information that's being shared.
Boot camp has been very informative. I've been able to learn about a lot of different careers in the creative industry, get a lot of feedback on the work that we're producing from creative directors all over the world, and from Nadia herself. Because of this 2nd boot camp, I learned about a new career that I've never heard of, which is being a strategist, and it's definitely like gotten my interest since I like to plan stuff down to the last thing, and that's like one of the aspects of that career field.
Alani said she would encourage anyone to take part in the boot camp as it offers more than just media training.
I would encourage people to be a part of this boot camp, even if you aren't necessarily interested in having been in a career in the creative industry. You learn about a lot of life skills that you could apply to different careers. You get to socialize with different people on the island and just learn a lot of different stuff. You can never know too much, and a lot of the skills that we're learning you could apply it to other jobs like copywriting and editing and things like that.
The media training began on February 6 and is expected to wrap up with a graduation ceremony and panel discussion on March 27. Regionally, demonstrators, including many police officers in Haiti, have stormed several police stations in the capital. They freed 4 officers who had been arrested over an alleged coup attempt last month. Al Jazeera's Sarah Kairat has more.
A common sight in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince. Protesters angry at the political, economic and health crisis gripping their nation. While roadblocks and other disruptions have been an almost daily occurrence this year, the sight of uniformed police joining the demonstrations is more recent. Masked to hide their identity, they stormed several police stations on Wednesday, setting one of them on fire and releasing 4 colleagues from police cells. They'd been accused of an alleged coup attempt against President Jovenel Moïse last month, a claim they deny.
We've been suffering for a long time. We took our destiny, and we're telling the Haitian people that they are free, today or never.
We support the release of the police detained. We're also here to tell the president he has to admit that he can no longer run this country. According to the Article 134(2), his mandate is finished.
The police officers belong to a group they formed called Phantom 509 that calls on the resignation of the National Police General. They're also demanding the release of the bodies of 5 officers killed in a botched raid on a notorious gang a week ago.
We're blocking all the roads, we're dropping our weapons, and we're not going to work at the police stations, so we send a clear message to the Director of Police and the Prime Minister to go and get the bodies of the killed officers.
Haiti is the poorest country in the Americas. Gang kidnappings, rape and murders are all on the rise, and unrest has been growing.
We cannot live in a society where violence is wreaking havoc, and they're using this violence as a method against us.
Critics say the government does not provide the police with enough resources to tackle gang crime. The opposition coalition, Democratic and Populist Sector, has accused President Moïse of colluding with G9, a powerful gang alliance formed last year by a former police officer to keep certain areas of the capital under control, an accusation the president denies. But on Wednesday, a state of emergency was declared for 1 month in some areas of Port-au-Prince. Sarah Kairat, Al Jazeera.
Prime Minister Alan Chastanet says St. Lucia, like many other countries, is considering the use of vaccine passports. As more people are vaccinated around the world, they will likely be required to present proof of vaccination in order to travel and, in some cases, to hold certain jobs. More in this DBS News report.
According to Prime Minister Alan Chastanet, the Government Modernization Unit has already been working with the Ministry of Health on an electronic version of a vaccine passport. This follows the manual rollout of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign, which saw thousands of St. Lucians being vaccinated. The electronic version is expected to be completed by next week, and according to Prime Minister Chastanet, the electronic file containing the bearer's information can be accessed online or can be saved on the individual's mobile device for travel purposes.
By next week, the electronic version will be done, so we will manually update the database, and it will produce an electronic file for you that you'll access online, but certainly you can also put into your iPhone or when you're traveling, that would give you an electronic record of your vaccination.
Prime Minister Chastanet does not see this as an infringement of a person's right to decide for or against inoculation, but sooner or later, according to him, vaccination will become a travel requirement.
Those persons who do want to have it, and many persons who are going to travel are realizing that it is going to be a requirement to be able to travel. Certainly it would be much easier to travel with a vaccine than not traveling without a vaccine.
Prime Minister Chastanet says it's up to the government to facilitate the process. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Internationally, several European countries, including Germany and France, are resuming AstraZeneca vaccinations after the continent's top medical regulator said the doses are safe and effective. The European Medicines Agency believes the benefits of receiving the jab far outweigh the potential risks of blood clots that have been reported in several countries. So far, around 18 million doses have been administered to patients in the United Kingdom and the European Union. Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane reports.
For much of this week, this vaccine has been the focus of attention, fated by many as a main weapon against COVID, but feared by others for what they thought might be a dangerous side effect. Now, the EU's medical regulator has given its verdict.
The committee has come to a clear scientific conclusion. This is a safe and effective vaccine. Its benefits in protecting people from COVID-19 with the associated risks of death and hospitalisation outweigh the possible risks.
Around 7 million doses of the vaccine have already been administered across the EU, with many more lying unused on shelves in vaccination centres, the clear effect of the temporary suspension in its use. In Germany, some in the medical profession believe the greater risk lies in not using the AstraZeneca product.
This is necessary. Time is running out. We have to get the vials, and we have all the infrastructure for it. Behind us, we have a huge vaccination centre. We could vaccinate not just 1,300 people in a day, but many more if we had to. We are ready.
One problem is the public lack of confidence some in Germany feel about AstraZeneca's product. Some surveys suggest barely more than half the population here would be happy to receive it. A stark contrast to the way the vaccine has been received in the UK, where its uptake has been much greater. One medical analyst told me, when it comes to health matters, Germans don't like to take risks.
Like we Germans sometimes are, we want the no-risk thing, and there is no such thing like a no-risk thing. Maybe the UK population thinks different in this respect, and that might be the reason for this, for the different ways of judging this issue.
Here in the German capital, ministers have announced a rapid resumption of AstraZeneca vaccination on Friday, perhaps hoping to counter a growing public belief they've just been acting too slowly during the pandemic. Confidence in the government is also down, with just 6 months to a general election. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
Italy's Prime Minister has attended a ceremony in Lombardy, the region that became Europe's COVID-19 hotspot 1 year ago. More than 100,000 people have died across the country over the last year, and that toll will rise as the country prepares for another wave of coronavirus infections. Al Jazeera's Andrew Simmons reports.
Dignity 1 year after the chaos and death that consumed the Lombardy region of Italy, the first European country to be hit by COVID. Italy's Prime Minister Mario Draghi, having imposed a new lockdown, is only too aware of the threat posed by another wave of the virus. For now, though, he pays homage to 3,500 lives lost in this region and nationwide, the total dead of more than 100,000.
Oggi è una giornata.
This is a day full of sadness, but also full of hope, and I want everyone to feel close through this sadness and hope.
The images emerging from this region exactly a year ago were viewed with disbelief all over the world. Convoys of military trucks filled with coffins. The sounds and the silence, such emptiness. Yet a void filled with daily outbursts of support from medical staff. And looking back to the time his church was filled with coffins, this priest reflects.
È diventata una zona dove non era più possibile fare niente.
This zone became an area where nothing could be done anymore. A year ago, time stopped.
In the hospitals, overwhelmed to breaking point a year ago, the staff talk of a new confidence. Medical directors say they have more control despite another wave of infections.
All our lifestyle changed because of the pandemics. It's painful, but also can be an opportunity to think of some priorities. I think sometimes we as Italian, we don't have much self-esteem, but we have more capacity than we think we have.
But similar scenes to this will continue, with the rollout of vaccines having a long way to go, not just here, but all over the world. Andrew Simmons, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Current conditions are partly cloudy with a moderate breeze of 15 miles per hour from the east-northeast. The temperature is 28 degrees Celsius or 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators should continue to exercise caution. The weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis today says to expect partly sunny skies with a 20% or slight chance of a brief passing shower. And for tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:22 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:15 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.